Hello, everyone. So I have a very special guest and a good friend of mine that I'm interviewing. A guy who is he's not the King of Kings because that would be Jesus, but he's almost there. His name is BreezyKenju. How you going, man?
Hey, what's going on, Fate?
So I this is my idea. I wanted to sort of introduce him to you guys because you've noticed that like when I've done some live streams for quite a while now. You've heard Breezy in a lot of the chats, and he has a lot of experience when it comes to the actual esports and professional scene, and he's competed. So, do you wanna take it away and just introduce yourself and what you've done and everything, and everything you've
Yeah, I'll
done?
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started competing in fighting games back in 2007. So this is Third Strike, a little bit of Marvel 2, Tekken 5, a little double dabble with that Mortal Kombat Deception and whatnot.
Yep.
But mainly the Street Fighter Third Strike, Tekken 5, and Marvel 2.
Yep.
So I stopped competing 2020. So pretty much well, no 2021. So that's pretty much the year when Evo came back from COVID and whatnot.
Yep.
And that's when I stopped playing. So I have roughly about a decade and a half under my belt of experience within like the FGC in terms of competing and whatnot.
Yep. Yep. So just trying to think like so what would be of the games you just mentioned that you competed in, what do you think was the best, like the one that you had the most fun in? Not the one that you won the most in, but the one that had you the most fun in, you think?
I would say it's Tekken 5.
Yep.
Because with Tekken, I met the most people on there and I learned a lot from playing Tekken, right? Because I think like with Tekken is like the most complex fighting game to learn, when it comes to like Street Fighter, Marvel, Mortal Kombat, whatnot. I mean, like Virtual Fighter is definitely just as complex as Tekken.
Yep.
But I've never played. I've only played Virtual Fighter like just for fun, never like serious or whatnot.
Yep.
So I can only speak on with Tekken, because like Tekken, there's so much things that you have to learn about in that game. You have to learn about movement. Movement is very important in Tekken.
Yep.
Throw breaks, matchups. It's just a lot of things you have to learn about in Tekken. So,
do you think do you prefer the older Tekken games to say what's coming out with Tekken 8? Because obviously you've seen in the scene, a lot of the professionals have, at least for a little bit there, we're talking about their sort of finding it's way too aggressive. Maybe they need more defensive options, that sort of thing. So do you find Tekken 8 to be a vast difference from what you previously played, and do you like it?
oh yeah. Also, and another thing too. Mortal Kombat is also one of my favorite games within the community.
Yep.
But I gotta put an abstract on it. It's MK9. So if it's not MK9, then I don't enjoy it.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I'm not a fan of Tekken 8. A lot of people I've talked to about this. I talked about a little bit within the VC in here and whatnot, but I'll just go over more on why I just don't like this version of Tekken 8. So it's fun to play casually. Like out of all the Tekkens, this is probably the most fun I've had in a Tekken game casually. But once you start like understanding it and try to get into it competitively and whatnot, then you'll start realizing just how much nonsense that is in the game. Because right now, where the state is at is pretty much a lot of aggressive Tekken. So it's pretty much like the same play style being played. So even like watching it, like I know for me, it gets really boring of watching Tekken 8 in tournament because it's pretty much, you get in, you're guessing all day long. If you're being pressured, you pop heat activation.
Yep.
Then it's time to guess more. Then it's rinse, repeat. It's not like I use the terminology of there's no more personality when it comes to fighting games because everyone has like the same play style, whatnot.
Yep.
Like even if like it's like a different character, right? It's still like the same format to where okay, if I'm playing Paul, it's the same format. I have to get in. You
Yeah.
know, if I'm playing Double Gen, it's the same format. I have to get in. You know, and like in this game, like you cannot be blocking all day long, and that's what made Tekken back in the day Tekken, because Tekken used to be a very defensive game.
Yeah.
You know, and you had to have great movement to where like how it is in Tekken 8, when it comes to like swinging all day, you couldn't do that in the old Tekkens because the movement was just so damn good.
Yeah.
So especially also in like Tekken 6 movement, you could say that it's some people will say that it's better Tekken 5. I say Tekken 5's movement is slightly better Tekken 6. I mean, they both have good movement, whatnot, but just in terms of this like the rule breakings that Tekken 8 does with the previous Tekkens is why I don't like it. Like the fact that you can literally just swing all day and not be, you know, have no risk. It's just straight reward. Like you swing all day, you know, you're rewarded for it, and if you block, you're punished for it because now everybody in this game has throw games now. There's guard breaks, there's chip damage, and damn near like I would say 40% of the cast or maybe 50% of the cast has an unbreakable throw. So you really can't block in this game.
Yeah. Why do you think they changed it? Was there an inspiration of another game that they were looking at and going, you know, maybe we need to model our next Tekken game after that? Or do you think it was just, you know, an evolution from Tekken 7 with the introduction of the Rage Art?
Well, I know exactly why they changed it. It's because of esports, and that's the one way to solve it. Just started happening around 2015. People say that it started with Marvel 3. I mean, in certain cases, you could say it started Marvel 3, but I don't think it really started Marvel 3. Like, I think when we started seeing a change in terms of gameplay with fighting games was Street Fighter 5. You know, because Street Fighter 5, they started the add the implement of a carried mechanic, which is V trigger. Which, in my opinion, V trigger is just as worse than damn, having a brain fart. Marvel 3's mechanic. God dang, I'm having a brain fart. For people who play Marvel, if you play Marvel, there's like a mechanic on there to where when you activate it, you know, you take reduced chip damage. You do it boosts up your combos, so it makes it way easier to play. But in terms of just all around, just a hand-me-down, well, not hand-me-down, but a breastfeeding, baby strolling mechanic, like Street Fighter 5 takes the cake, because it's like Street Fighter 5's V trigger is literally the same as Heat in Tekken 8.
Yeah,
it's literally the same. To where if you pop Heat, you know, the person who's on the defense, they have to guess. Same thing with V trigger. If I pop V trigger, you have to guess my mix up, and you pretty much either you die from it or you live from it. That's literally how it goes. So, but with esports coming in, esports really ruined it because it used to be a fighting game community. Now it's just a fighting game scene. It's two different things, but to where it's a community, it's a scene.
Yeah,
and you can pretty much look at it from Twitter. Like everybody wants to make a scene. Everybody wants to have all eyes on them. To where back then it used to be about a community, everyone helping each other. Like you did have like some rust tools in the shed, whatnot. But it's like for the most part, like everyone was just really trying to help each other, you know, grow.
Yeah, and that's probably too, like especially with things like Fortnite with Ninja, really sort of cementing the idea that, you know, somebody can, you know, really make it big. You know, just from competing. That also adds to the fact that then everyone's like, right, now, like, everyone just becomes sweating. Like, you know, like, I play casual, like, MK1 online, and it's like life or death. These people, there's no fun. Like, their only goal is to just find the path of least resistance. And like I think you were saying before, like, you know, you said it's very boring watching Tekken 8 because the gameplay style everyone's adopting ends up being the same. And it's just, that's been a pervading thought that I've had with MK1. There's other people that have also said it in the scene as well, that when they play or watch people play, there's, you know, they might have some variations depending on cameos, but ultimately the same goal is the overly aggressive nature of the game. And I'm just like, and yeah, and I'm assuming that's the reason why they're doing it. Yeah, is because it looks more exciting. You know, like rather than two boxers just standing there, just taking jabs and maybe occasionally getting that big hit in. Now it's like everyone's like pumped up on like essentially digital steroids, and everyone's just trying to put on a show. You know, trying to get those eyes on them so they look the best, or they're trying to be the next Sonic Fox, or the next Arslan Ash, that sort of thing. But what's your take on like, because obviously like he's the champion, Arslan, right? Were you surprised when he came out with his comments about Tekken 8? Like, were you surprised with that? I was actually good. I actually thought it was good that he was calling it out. I was actually really.
No, I think it's good. I think it's really good for pro players to really speak out on a situation.
Yeah.
Because from the eyes of the developer, they're looking at it to where it's like, okay, if the best player currently right now in Tekken is saying that our game is lacking with defense, right? Then we should really fix it, right? Because people have to really understand how, fighting games work, right? In terms of competition, because the casuals, they bring in the money because the casuals are always going to outweigh, the competitive side, But in terms of balancing, bug fixes and whatnot, like that's where like the competitive side really kicks into full gear in that that aspect, because casual players, they're not really like breaking down the game, they're not in the lab really studying the game, right? Like they're just the ones that's pushing the buttons, seeing a lot of flashy stuff and whatnot, right? But when Arslan Ash came out, and the Knee came out, and the people like Fighting GM came out, like these big top guys, it really started like put like a little limelight to us. Okay, I really like how people are really standing out and speaking upon this era, because it was the same thing in Street Fighter V. Like a lot of pro players were really saying how the game is literally about V-Trigger. Like Daigo Omahara, right? He had an interview back in 2017, and they asked him about Street Fighter V in his opinion, and he clearly stated, and I quote, "The game is about V-Trigger. If you don't have the best V-Trigger in the game, you won't win."
Yeah.
And that's the best, I won't say the best player, but the most famous Street Fighter player of all time. And he's telling you that your game is about V-Trigger? That's why Capcom changed the route of how Street Fighter 6 is. Like, you notice like they took away V-Trigger, they changed up gameplays, they made it more faster because Street Fighter 5 was slower than Street Fighter 4, right? They changed up how the game, operated, and they gave us a new mechanic, which is drive meter, right? Which I think, in my opinion, is brilliant, because what they did was they took the best things about Third Strike and the best things about Street Fighter 4, and they mixed it together, because those are the two best popular games, in terms of Street Fighter, right?
Yep.
So, how drive meter works, for anyone who doesn't know in the chat, right? So, it really is about meter management in Street Fighter 6, because it's going back to the whole Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 4, you had to really, conserve your meter. You didn't want to cash out, and then the next round you have no meter, right? So you can't build no offense. But in this game, like, at first I had a problem with them, every round you start, you have full bar of meter. But I see why they did it that way, because if you burn all, let's say like the first 10 seconds, right? You're like constantly doing EX moves, right? Well, now you're in burnout mode, right? So now you're on the ropes. Yeah, you're vulnerable. So now if your opponent does any move, it's going to be plus, because you're on burnout. So you're at a very disadvantage. Even if you get like a combo, you can't really do big combos because you have no meter. And if you get put at the wall, you're at a big situation to where you can get, hit one drive impact, and then you get stunned. Hit the wall, you're stunned, right? You're eating more damage, but that's because it's your fault. It's not because of the game's fault. It's your fault because you wasn't properly managing your meter correctly. You wanted to burn your meter in the first 10 seconds instead of conserving it, until you get that situation to where you need to burn a meter, to end the round.
Yep.
So yeah.
Do you think of all the fighting games that have come out in recent times, I don't know if you played much of Grand Blue, certainly, but at least between the big three, would you say that Street Fighter has the best playground for both offensive and defensive players?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I think some people, they might disagree on what I'm saying, but if you compare it to Mortal Kombat 1, Casino 8, you'll really see like just how much fluid, and how balanced Street Fighter is, because I haven't played, Versus Rising. I don't play that. It's not my style of game. I don't really like anime games outside of Fighter Z because it's just Dragon Ball, right? But in terms of just those three games, it feels really balanced, right? Because you have ways to defend off on drive rush and whatnot, because you have drive reversal. You have drive impact. I mean, even though drive impact is very reactable to where you can use your drive impact, like you still have those options, right? And if you're looking at it on the grand scheme of things, every character in Street Fighter 6 is getting the same benefits off of the drive mechanic. Like, it's not like Tekken, to where in Tekken, everybody's heat mechanic works differently because everyone has different moves. Like, for example, Kuma has the Wind Bear Fist, right? The Wind God Fist, right? But, Paul doesn't have that. Paul is just Paul, right? In Devil Jin has his unbreakable throw, and drive heat, in heat, right? But you got characters like Law. Law doesn't have that. I mean, Law's drive heat is good, but he doesn't have an unbreakable throw like Devil Jin has. So the way the heat mechanic is, like I said, is in the same situation in a problem right now with Street Fighter 5, to where now Tekken, because I always said that Tekken is playing Big Brother, right? It's playing little brother to Big Brother because Street Fighter. Like, they're playing pickup to where they're trying to copy them, but their issue is they're doing it in a way to where it almost ruined Capcom with Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yeah, I remember, I think Sony bankrolled, didn't they? Didn't they bankroll Street Fighter 5? Did it even come to Xbox? Did Street Fighter 5 ever come to Xbox?
No, it was exclusively only PlayStation. I think it was on Steam, I think. Yeah,
it's on Steam, yeah. So going back to what you said about, obviously, the pro players are getting down to sort of really figuring out the mechanics and stuff like that. So in comparison to, obviously, you've seen my interactions going back and forward with people on the scene. I'm just a casual, I'm a massive MK fan, but a casual gameplay player, right? But in comparison of scene to scene, so Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken, so can pro players interject their opinions or drive a game in a direction that won't take away the fun from the casuals, right? Because as you said, obviously, the casual fan base, by and large, bring in the money, if they're Tekken fans or Street Fighter fans or MK fans, they'll by and large stick around, whether they're more competitive side or just just fans of it in general. But who do you feel like maybe the Tekken scene and the Street Fighter scene have pro players that or like a sort of like an esports pro scene that feels like they have a better handle on the way that the game should move forward? Like you said with Daigo, mentioning about the V trigger, right? Do you think they have a better handle on their games moving forward than, say, the NRS scene does with their games moving forward? Because it seems like the Japanese guys seem to be very much, everyone is in the same boat. The casuals and the pros, they're all in the same boat, right? Whereas the NRS scene seems very different. It seems like you've got all these different groups, subgroups, and it feels like Tekken people, Tekken fans listen to the pro players, and there's no sort of animosity, and Street Fighter seems to have the same sort of thing where they just all they're all trying to move the game in a direction that is very fun. It feels like there's different scenes, like a different sort of mentality and attitude between the Japanese guys and, of course, obviously the American. When it comes to Mortal Kombat, would you think that's the case, or do you think it's a level of maybe the Street Fighter and Tekken guys have more experience? Maybe because some of them might be older, or I don't know. It just feels very different. Very different.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, for sure. I think like one of the issues I think with the whole NRS community is that the fact that when you're comparing it to like the Marvel community,
yep.
Street Fighter and Tekken, like their community, it stays like very small. Like we got a lot of players from Brazil who plays. A lot of UK players are really standing out more and whatnot, but it's mainly just two regions.
Yep.
US, Brazil, and the UK. I mean, you could say like you got like maybe like a couple of drip from like Canada or Mexico, but it's mainly like those three regions.
Yep.
And now we got Tekken, so now we got the Pakistan region, right?
Yep.
It's going to get bigger.
Yep.
And Street Fighter has always been just a worldwide fighting game, to where like everybody knows of Street Fighter. A lot of people compete in it, right? And I've always say that if people don't believe me, just check the tournament entries. Like, why is that? Every year for any NRS game, the entries always drop. They're never consistent, and they never get big. Like, the only time you'll see an NRS game have a lot of entries is during Evo, the first year of the game for Evo. After that, it's a side tournament.
Yeah.
Like it might get like a stage, but it won't be like a main stage. Like it won't be a top game for main stage on Sundays. Yeah. Like their games, like I'm not even kidding. There'll be times to where even the entries be so damn low that the tournaments will end on one day. Like it'll end on a Friday. It won't even be a 2-day event. And it's happened before,
Why do you think that is? What do you think the driving force as to why? I mean, I think Rewind did an interview recently I was going to cover because he had some interesting points, and I think it was him that said something like it's actually one of the hardest things to be an NRS like esports player because their games change every game. Even between the games. So between each Mortal Kombat game, then between each Injustice game, and then in between each of those games, they're always so different. So you've got to constantly basically learn from the ground up. But I wonder if that also contributes to a lot of the possible issues as well, because there's no legacy. There's no consistency. And I wonder if that's too, backing on what you're saying about, there's not much entry, with these, with the NRS ones, is because they just keep, what is it, because they change too much? People got to relearn everything again. So...
Yeah, it's the whole relearning phase, and there's no legacy intact, right? This is why with Tekken and Street Fighter, right, you still see like a lot of like the veteran players, they're still playing because like Bandai and Capcom, they keep the legacy intact. Same thing with like Marvel. Like even though Infinite is a shitty ass game, they still kept the game play at its core the same, right? But ever since MK9, I've always said that NRS, they're like scientists, like mad scientists, and the game is a lab rat, to where they just keep studying. If it's a failed experiment, well, let's just try a new method. They don't correct the problem and see, okay, where do we mess up at? Where can we go back? It's just they keep making up new serums and whatnot, and hoping that it sticks. That's the thing about NRS, why their game is always failing, because, like I said, if you take someone who's, let's say, never played, Mortal Kombat, right? And they're like, oh man, they see the trailer for Mortal Kombat 1, right? And they're like, oh man, I really want to get into this game. And they play Mortal Kombat 11. But the problem is, once one drops, they have to relearn everything that they can't use that was in 11, because the fact that, okay, now you went from a one-player game to now in their eyes, it's a cameo assist, which is really it's a reject hand-me-down tag game. They just don't want to say it. All right, but that's what it is. It's a tag game, right? So now you got to relearn shit. You got to see what's meta, right? You got to see which mechanics they brought back in, right? And it's just a relearning, cycle that people just don't want to do at all. Period.
Yep.
And I don't blame them because it's very tedious to keep playing a game, and every 2 years it just changes. This is why they can't keep a very core community within NRS, because they just can't keep the legacy intact.
Now we do know that 16-bit, which is now Stephanie Brownback, she was hired, or he was hired, to join NetherRealm back in the day. I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure it might have been around Injustice 1, perhaps, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Does Street Fighter or Tekken, do they have any in-house previous esports players that are actually building the game and driving it in a direction done with NRS or not?
Yeah, they do. One of those players from Tekken, his name was Mishima Star. He used to be a really, really good Kazuya player back then.
Yep.
I think he's doing Q&A. He might be actually hands-on, helping make the game and whatnot.
Yep.
In terms of Capcom, you did have Mike Ross and Gutex. They were on there, but obviously Mike Ross. If you don't know the situation, I'll pretty much tell you just a little bit of cliff notes.
Yep.
He pretty much turned down pretty much a big opportunity within Capcom because he didn't like how Capcom and mainly esports were treating Street Fighter V, right? Because he did not like how Street Fighter V, the direction Street Fighter was going to.
Yep. So
he kind of just left not only Street Fighter but the community itself and whatnot.
Yep.
But yeah, you do have a couple of guys that are hands-on within Tekken and Capcom, and not just Street Fighter, but also Marvel as well. The other guy, Filipino man, you could say that he's in part of it, whatnot. You could say Hollywood Rob TV, he's involved with. So you have a lot of guys that are really involved within Capcom.
Yep. So you've obviously been competing for a long time, which means you've also seen as you were talking about before, you got community versus scene, and of course with that obviously comes a lot of ego and things like that. Do you see have you seen a lot of ego changes and things like that when it comes to the Street Fighter and Tekken scene or MK scene over the years? I know I've spoken to James Fink a couple of times, and he's always just cracking down on the modern esports scene, because he was there in the beginning, at least for the MK stuff or whatever, and he just said it's so vastly different. So obviously you're younger than James is, but have you seen a massive shift in attitudes, people's attitudes going from this is just fun to I'm so much better than you, because I press buttons kind of thing? Have you noticed that when you've been to these events over the years or whatnot? It started changing. I would say this, right? It really started changing once the internet really started evolving. So once we started to have Twitch and all this other stuff, Twitter started becoming an actual social media platform and whatnot. Yep.
I would say a prime example of someone that's really, really humble is Minor RD. So if you don't know who Minor RD is, he's pretty much, in my opinion, he's the best Street Fighter player right now currently, right?
Yep.
But he's very humble. He follows God. He thanks God for everything that he's gotten.
Yep.
Whatnot in terms of accomplishments and whatnot. So you have a lot of humble guys within Street Fighter. Tekken's the same way. Tekken. You do have, like I said, you do have some rush tools in the shed, whatnot. But in terms of just the NRS community, man, it's a lot of ego trip within that community.
Why do you think that is?
It's
why would it be different? You think?
Well, we gotta look at the elephant in the room, Sonic Fox. There's an old saying, right? To where like your community, reflects upon the person who's leading it, right?
Yeah.
And Simon Fox is pretty much at the quote unquote helm table, right?
Yeah.
So if you see how he's reacting, you gotta look at the other players that are reacting just like him. Like, I'm not saying like a lot of other players are acting like the way he does, because you do got some people who are very humble and whatnot. Like Ninja Killer, he's pretty humble. Strigadine doesn't really play anymore. I mean, I haven't seen him play too much.
Rewind seems pretty chill.
Yeah, Rewind, he's pretty humble. Yeah, he's very humble. But for the most part, like I've always said, that it's very important for communities to have leadership. Because I'll give you actually a prime example. In Tekken, this is why, in my opinion, that the ATL scene, ATL is the best region for Tekken. And this was one of the reasons why. There was a female player from Texas, and she made a tweet saying how she doesn't want to play with players who aren't at her skill level. Like pretty much anyone. Like for example, if you would ask her for games for Tekken, she wouldn't play you because she's trying to play pro players and get better, right? And the entire ATL scene, I'm talking about Poke Chop, Anakin and them, like they just they didn't bash her, but they just told her like, hey, what you're saying isn't cool because we're all about helping each other out, even the little man. Like if there's one person that's down, we help them get them up. Like we help them, we teach them, and it's just like within like the NRS community, you just don't see that no more. Like the last time I saw that even happen was MK9. This is why like MK9 isn't special because the game is good, because the community was just even greater. Like you actually had people that were writing character guidebooks, like Perfect Legend and Tom Brady. They made the MK9 combat guide, right? I still have the book to this day, right? In my opinion, it's one of the most thought out, very, very in tune when it comes to a character guide. It teaches you about characters, matchups, what's buggy, combos and whatnot. Like that was just a complete guide, right? And the community was just greater. Like even then, like you call them the Condiment Twins, like they were really big on helping people. Like they were really like when they came to Evo and whatnot. I remember it, man. Like all those guys would be in one fucking hotel and shit, and they'll just be helping each other out. Even like the people who are like casuals, like they were trying to get into the game, they would help them as well. Same thing with Foxy and whatnot. But the reason why it was so big back then because there was leadership back then. You had a lot of big people that were like even like top players that were leaders. Like for example, TD Jr., Maxter, Crazy Dominican. I'm having a brain fart. What's his name? Justin Wall even played a little bit. Shingadink, he played it. Rio played it. Tom Brady, Perfect Legend. The list goes on and on and on. I'm not gonna name certain names. I mean, fuck, I'll do it. Pig in the Hut used to be. He used to be. But once he started doing the whole gatekeeping and if you're not a good, MK player, you're not in our clique. He started doing that shit around MKX. Once he started doing that, like I started having like a big problem with him. It's like, dude, you're from Atlanta. You're from a region that's all about helping people, and anybody who comes to Atlanta, we treat them good people. That's how we say it down in the South. Treat them good people. This guy, he just after MKX. Well, once MKX dropped, this guy just completely just went like 180 with the whole other side whatnot. And you already talked to James Fink about the situation. I know the situation because I've seen it firsthand of, rigging brackets, being banned from tournaments. So I already know about all that shit, man. So
hang on, wait. So hang on, what was that about rigging brackets? Can you explain that for those that don't know?
Okay, yeah. So pretty much, this only happens if you are a TO. TO means a tournament organizer. Right. So let's say you sign up for a bracket, right? Once the bracket is finalized, there'll be a specific button to where it generates. So it generates the bracket automatically by itself.
Yep.
But as a TO, you can actually switch players around the bracket to where it makes them easier for them to actually progress forward into the tournament.
Yep.
You know? And it happens all the time. Like it happens also in Street Fighter, and it happens other games too, not just NRS games, but it happens a lot within NRS games. This is why you keep saying, like, just go back and just go look at any previous NRS titles before MK9.
Yep.
Well, after MK9.
Yep.
You'll always see the same players in top 8. Now, why is that? Because they're rigging brackets.
Yeah. Yeah. So, why though? Like, why would you do it? Like, what would be the goal there? Is that because they're trying to create, I don't know, like essentially like social media heroes or whatever, so people can, follow and then they can market those people, or, would that be what would be the goal rather than just let the chips fall where they may?
Well, it's like I said before, there's a circle. If you're not a part of that, that quote unquote pro level circle,
yep.
right? Then you just won't get any special treatment. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Like for example, when they pretty much just shadow ban Perfect Legend from I won't say for tournaments, but from the community. Like,
yeah,
this guy being in tournaments is going to be very rough because of the fact that they know that, okay, his name's on the bracket. Let's do everything in our power to make sure that this guy, if he makes it out of pool, we're going to make it so hard on him to where he's not going to want to play in a Mortal Kombat tournament ever again.
So why so for those that don't know, unfortunately, most people sort of know him in recent times, I guess. The only thing is the fact that Perfect Legend was beaten 13-0 by Sonic Fox, but obviously he had much more to him than just that. But so why would they? So what was there something like? Is he a Christian? Was it something that they did? They go, yep, no, he's not part of the group. We got to do anything we can to get him out. Was there anything specific with him, or?
Yeah, so I'll tell the story because can't really say that it's private because it was on Twitter.
Yep.
When it happened.
Yep.
So pretty much what happened was get a little cliff notes. Tom was dating a female by the name of Eva.
Yep.
So if anyone is really big on Mortal Kombat 11 or whatnot, then you know who Eva is. But if you don't know who Eva is, Eva was a trans woman. She stayed down here in Georgia. I used to go to locals with her, used to play, whatnot. She would try to help me with Mortal Kombat 11, but I just told her, I was like, look, this game's shit. I'm never playing this shit, right?
Yep.
But she was getting into Tekken, so I was helping her with Tekken and whatnot.
Yep.
Tom was dating her, right? But what she did was, which I think was kind of pretty grimy, she actually leaked private text messages between PL and Tom.
Yep.
And pretty much PL was texting to Tom like pretty much saying, hey, you're a Christian, so it's like, how can a Christian man, be dating a trans woman? Like, it goes against your beliefs, And they were saying how PL was a transphobic. Well, he's not being transphobic because he's pretty much saying that, dude, like, you dating a trans woman goes against your belief system.
Yep.
It goes against what you're following.
Yep.
And that's not him being a transphobic. That's just him, challenging Tom Brady's belief system.
Yep.
So when everyone came out and said that, oh, he's a transphobic, he's homophobic, that's the downfall for PL within the the Mortal Kombat community. Like the 13-0, like I said, the 13-0 has nothing to do with that. Like, people still troll him on that shit.
Yeah.
But that's not even the main issue. Because like I said, there have been so many times, like, for example, right?
Yep.
People sit here and say that, oh, Sonic Fox 13-0, Perfect Legend.
Yep.
But nobody talks about how Goichi embarrassed Sonic Fox in Fighter Z at Final Round. embarrass him. I think the score was 10-3, I think. So it's like there have been so many times where, Sonic Fox has gotten embarrassed, and oh my bad, I can't forget about the Street Fighter V incident where this guy goes on Twitter and says that Fang was a top 5 character, right? And the next tournament he plays Infiltration, he loses so bad that he actually deletes that tweet. He deletes the tweet. I've never seen someone lose so bad with the character that they were so confident that was top 8 that they delete the tweet that they made about the character. Like, it's ridiculous,
Yeah. So, okay, so, all right, because I mean, obviously you've been, not to get into sort of too much detail, but you've obviously seen what's going on with me. When I started talking about the gameplay in Mortal Kombat, because I've got a lot of videos on my channel, as you guys know, and so when I started to sort of get my hands on the game and the gameplay, I never was a fan of the cameos, never was. I just don't like it. I thought it was poorly implemented. If they did it maybe a different way, where it was just applying buffs to your character directly, and those buffs give you different abilities or different perks, like for defense, cool. But I just didn't like how they did it. Anyway, so that's another story. But when I started talking about the gameplay, that's when I noticed that obviously the people that do this professionally started to take issue with what I'm saying. And from what you've just explained with what happened with Perfect Legend, that whether you're great or not, there is a particular standard that if you start to stray outside of that, then they will start to go outside of that to try and, destroy it. Which is pretty terrible, because I don't see any of that sort of stuff happening in any of the other fighting game communities. In fact, going back to what you said about MK9, MK9 was amazing because, MK9 sort of satisfied almost every conceivable thing that somebody might have about Mortal Kombat. If you're a professional player, it gave it in spades. If you're a fan of just the franchise, it gave you in spades. If you're a fan of just the story, it gave you in spades. If you're a fan of game modes, it gave you in spades. The characters gave you in spades. There was so much stuff that MK9 did right. And I think that's why that also created a very wonderful community as well. There didn't seem to be, as you said, the animosity, everyone was trying to help each other. And then something changed, from because Total MK, he'll tell you, because he said that the reason why MK9 feels so different from, say, Injustice and MK10 is because MK9 was still being developed under Midway, right? So it only changed in essentially company name to NetherRealm because of the fallout, right? If there was no bankruptcy or buying out from Warner Brothers, it still would have been a Midway game. And that's a future to think about what they could have been, moving forward. But as soon as NetherRealm were creating their very first game as a company or developer as NetherRealm, then that's when I noticed a massive shift in quality and change in animation and stuff. And that's also, given things that you've mentioned and stuff I've read over the years, there's very much a big fracturing. It seems like these subgroups within the MK community. And if you talk about gameplay, then it's an issue. I had a comment on one of my videos the other day going, if only you just, sat on stream, asked people for help to play the game, then you would have been accepted. That's exactly what this guy said. And now I know why. Because of what you just said. Because otherwise, if you don't follow the path that they decide that you should walk on, you get outed, and that's terrible. So
no, you're right, pretty much. Yeah, that's literally how it goes. I know I saw a tweet where someone was saying where and it's a good dude of mine, Chris T, Riga people, and he was interviewing Baylina. And they were talking about creating a safe space for women at FGC. Where it's I think I am for that, but this might be harsh to say, but we're living in reality. These same women that people are talking about creating a safe space, they're just as low, grimy, and dirty as just as the men are.
Yeah.
like I've seen shit happen to where like I'm gonna give y'all a little story to where 2017 at Evo. So after Evo Grand Finals on Sundays, there's a Evo after party within the Mandalay Bay Hotel, right? It's not in the hotel, but it's in that area, right? And there was men and even women drugging people's drinks and robbing them, right? This was men and women within the fighting game community. This is a whole, right? So when I saw that story, I'm like, that whole creating a safe space for women, that goes out the window. Because it wasn't just men doing it, it was women doing it as well. So what safe space are we talking about for women if women are involving them? Well, I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them are, willingly being participants on drugging people,
Yeah, see, I mean, like, obviously, like, tinfoil hat theory here, but I kind of wonder, like, when I've stepped on certain toes, when it comes to the pro people, and again, like, these people could be very nice people outside of that, outside of all the blunder and bluff and stuff that goes on with back and forth with people. They could be fine people outside of that. There's a lot of ego involved, unfortunately, though. But I often wonder, is there, as you've just stated, how much more is there that people are just, hoping that nobody notices, and that if you don't follow the path, if you don't sort of brought into the circle or the fold, if you will, then there's a bit of, I don't know, would you call it fear perhaps of discovery, finding out, oh, wait, like this is what's been going on, I know, like, not to mention names, I know I had an incident with someone recently, or not too long ago actually, where, sort of certain behaviors were made public, nothing done by me, of course. And I think most would agree the behaviors were pretty terrible, but they were more upset that I noticed than the incident happening. And to me, that's very telling, It's just, and of course, obviously, like James has said things as well. So I start to really wonder how much dirt and skeletons are actually out there, that they're terrified of people, finding out about. I mean, that's terrible, dude. Like, and yeah, you're right. Like, having a safe space for women, how does that help when not only are they, some of them, possibly participating in it as well? It's just, that seems all just like surface level. Oh, somebody called me a naughty word, or abused me online. It's like, okay, so did you block them? Did you mute them? If it was actually threatening you, did you report them? Right? These systems are all in place. A lot of these systems have been in place. I've been gaming on PC for decades. Most of these systems have been in place for a very long time. And ever since they brought that sort of online play to consoles, those systems then transferred over. So, like, what's a safe space? A safe space could, possibly just something that, right, these are the people that I'm controlling in this space. Because that's what safe space sounds like to me. A controlled environment, where you get to pick and choose who's part of it. And if somebody isn't part of it, then perhaps they might slander you or make up stuff to make sure that, you're seen as the bad guy because they're really trying to protect, bad stuff. I mean, I'd never heard the stuff that you've just told me. That's crazy, dude. Like, that is fucking... Yeah. Like, that is just disgusting. But you never see anyone talk about it.
Yeah, because my thing is this, like, I was talking to Outward Dragoon about this, I think it was Tuesday.
Yep.
And I was telling him, I was like, this is going to... Like I said, I'm going to make a little disclaimer. This might sound harsh when I'm saying this, but it's the truth. Like, I don't believe in the whole world peace because it doesn't work, right? No. Because if we're looking at reality, right, you have good versus evil. Like, even if, like, you believe in God, in order to believe in God, you have to believe that there's a devil. Yep. Same thing with, the other way around, right? Yep. So when people start to sit, and I see it all the time, like, a lot of like these new faces that come in the community talking about this isn't a safe space for women, right? But you gotta look at it like this same people who are saying this are the same ones causing the problems, you know. Yeah. So it's like a lot of people, and this is comes from the men's side as well. I learned this very valuable lesson to where you can't be weak to flesh, because the same flesh that you're weak to, you can also be vulnerable to it as well. Like, because like I think what's going on is a lot of people they're looking at to where because they're women, you know, they can't do no wrong. Well, that's just a lie, you know, because I've seen it happen a lot of times to where like women they'll use their sex appeal to get what they want. Yeah. You know, and I'm not gonna name no names just for like I said for the sake of your stream. Mm. But there's a female player in a very popular game. I'm not gonna name the game because if I name the game, people are gonna automatically get it, right? Yeah. But there's a very popular fighting game player, right? Yeah. And she's on this big sponsorship, right? Yeah. But the sponsor overlooked one individual and got her. The reason why they got her because they needed personality within their sponsor team. Yeah. And she brings the personality, but in terms of statistics and placements, she's not even top 10, let alone top 15. Right? And there's been other ones too. I'll name this one because she's not really good at all. There was a chick named Aru, and she was part of, you know, sponsor team called UU.
I've heard of her. Yeah.
So she literally got on the team because of her looks, right? Because I remember playing her in tournament back in DreamHack back in 2018, and once I saw that she was part of UU, I'm like, okay, you have to be. I'm like, all right, you got to be good if you're on UU, right? Yep. Played her and literally dog walked her, right? I literally beat her so bad, the people behind me, they were booing me because I beat her, right? Which is common, whatnot. But it was mainly like a lot of females that were booing me. I know why they was booing me because like, yeah, I beat your quote unquote bestie type shit, right? But it's like after I beat her, it's like, okay, how the fuck did she get sponsored? So like that day, I went home and I did some information on her, right? Went to the Bat Cave, you know, pulled up the Bat computer and did some homework. I'm just like, wait a minute, she's never won a tournament. She's never placed top 8 at a tournament. So I'm like, wait a minute. Then I realized, I was like, okay, yeah, this is all just based on personality. Yeah. She got there because of personality. And a lot of women, not all of them, but most of them, because you do got some women who put in a lot of work. Like, for example, there's a female by the name of Kujo Kate. Really good people. I've known her since Street Fighter 4 days. She's done a lot for the Street Fighter community and whatnot. Like, she's really good, right? Also, you have people like UU, really good player. You have Q, she's an OG Marvel player. She's really good. So you have like a lot of like good female players. They just don't play. Either they don't play anymore, or they do play, but they just don't play competitively, right? Yeah. But like most of like the new female, fighting game players, they don't want to admit it, right? But they're really here just for attention. And if you don't believe me, go on their Twitter and find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, I guess we've seen that a lot, with gaming in general. These women that sitting there with their obviously a lot revealing when it comes to things like places like Twitch. They're a gamer. They're playing like the most whatever like is popular game. Because they're essentially getting drinking up all that thirst from the male gamers. Because predominantly, like, especially going back to my day, like if there was a female in the space, in the gaming space, that was like a white elephant. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, holy shit, did Jesus come back? Like, it was just rare, And it's funny though, because a lot of the women back then used to tease guys for playing games. We were called nerds and geeks, and they put us down, and now here we are, now they're trying to monetize the space just because they have a pair of boobs. Not all of them, obviously, but it certainly does work, because then naturally, guys are going to be gravitated. It's unfortunately part of our instincts to a degree. We're going to be gravitated to attractive women in the space. And yeah, it's just, but then of course that thing too, like then you get the the white knight types who will defend them at all costs and ignore, as you said, like all these bad things that they actually do for the sake of hopefully getting a hello from them one day at a tournament. It just kind of feels like the whole thing's just a show, just like a they're just trying to get people in good positions like actors, and they don't really contribute much or do anything, just to sort of put on a front that this is really great when it actually isn't. And I think that's what, like, I see also with James saying too a lot is just calling out the bullshit, because he's been in the scene longer than any of us.
Yeah, for a long ass time, man. Yeah. Since the 90s.
Yeah, and it's just a shame, like, like I don't hold any ill will a lot of these people, that I've come up, banged heads against with, but ultimately the reason why it did came down to just the fact that a guy that is not a professional, I'm just a filthy casual when it comes to gaming, had an opinion about gameplay and was just looking at previous games or solutions that were there previous, and that seemed to rub people along like the wrong way, because it almost felt like, listen, I'm not going to be changing NRS. Like, nobody's going to listen to me. I don't have that sort of reach or that impact. But I worry though, because a lot of those earlier conversations, a lot of stuff was coming up about, this is, what was it? It's the casuals that ruin the game. That's right. Yeah, the casuals ruin the game. Now, if they saw me as a voice for casuals and my voice was rising, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I have that sort of impact, but they seem to be very aggressive about the fact that somebody was talking about gameplay, which, technically speaking, it's just a video game. We all paid the same money. We're all playing the same game. There's no sort of, I don't think there's a hierarchy in terms of like anything. It's just a game and everyone plays it to whatever capacity they want. But I don't seem to see that in the Tekken scene, or the Street Fighter scene. They seem to be a lot more welcoming, a lot more together. And I don't know if that's because it's led from the top down, where, because they're Japanese based, there's a lot of honor, a lot of respect. They don't like people acting the fool. And I wonder if that sort of has filtered down through the time to garner a better community, whereas, NRS is, it's American based. It's a lot different, right? A lot different mentality. A lot of different ethics and morals too that we've been seeing out, obviously, in recent years. And I wonder if that's a massive hit or a massive change, in comparison to the other ones out there that, that does rub, people the wrong way. I don't know.
Because even like with the casual aspect, right? So I'll just talk about that point first, right?
Yeah.
So, in terms of gameplay, what they did was, the developers, they did really cater to the casual audience, because it wasn't just because of just play style.
Yep.
It was mainly strictly because of gameplay.
Yeah.
Because if you look at any old school fighting game and compare it to now, you will see so many differences. Everything is more cinematic now. Obviously, graphics are more better. Characters are a lot more flashier.
Yep.
So for a casual, any old school arcade fighting game player, right? We wasn't worrying about fucking, cinematic moves and, how good the graphics were. We were just trying to go in there, put our fucking quarter in there, and push buttons and shit, because we like playing with Paul. We like playing with Ken. We like playing with Ryu. We like playing with fucking Wolverine or Magneto or them,
Yep.
Liu Kang, Sub-Zero, all that stuff. Like, we wasn't worrying about that, right?
Yeah.
But the issue was that you look at, like, this fighting games in general, or this video games in general, right? Fighting games have always been at the bottom of the barrel because it's so hard to play fighting games, especially back then, right?
Yeah.
So, in order for, like, the developers to get more money, right, you have to dumb it down to where, you know, you can make it more appealing for casual audience, right?
Yeah.
But in return, you're actually, you know, hurting the pro side because now you're creating these mechanics to where now it's, and here's the thing, people think that, oh, the casual players are beating, you know, the pro players. No.
Yeah.
That's the wrong assumption. What it is you have players that were competing back then that were having a hard time. Yeah. Now they're not struggling. Like, that's the issue. Yep. You know? Like, I've always said, like, compare it, you gotta compare it to, like, sports nowadays.
Yep.
And the best example I can use it is in the NBA, right? There's a thing called hand checking. You know, back then, hand checking was legal back in the NBA, right? Now you can't do it. You know, it's a foul. And pretty much what hand shaking is, I'll explain it, right? Yeah. So hand shaking is pretty much if someone shoots from the 3 line, right, you can't bat their hand down. Back then, you were able to do that. This is why people like Larry Bird was like the best 3-point shooter, because he was one of the main guys shooting from the 3-point line.
Yep.
But when you create a rule called hand shaking, to where now you have to wait till the ball releases from the shooter's hand, then you can make a defensive play. Now you're creating an issue to where now everybody is shooting from the 3-point line. Now it was like, okay, no one's playing defense. You can't play defense, so it makes it easier. So so when you compare that to, you know, like, fighting games and whatnot, everybody is able to, like, have more. It's about being comfortable now.
Yeah.
Everybody's more comfortable playing fighting games because it's like you don't have to worry about, oh, well, skill gap, and, oh, well, there's no mechanic to help me actually, like win games now. Yep. To where now it's like, okay, I'm more comfortable now. Like, I can really relax when I'm playing. So in terms of, like...
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, so obviously, like, if I fought, you know, as an example, if I fought any of these top NRS players, you know, Ninja Killer or Rewind or Sonic Fox, Foxy Grandpa, I have no doubt they'll destroy me, right? So now that everyone's more comfortable with the game, does that mean that like they still be able to decimate me, right? But so obviously their skill level is higher than just like if everyone's comfortable, they're still a cut above, like obviously way above, right? So does that, if everything's made easier for everyone else, does that also make it easier for them to become even better because the game isn't as hard, or not?
Well, no, because you gotta remember, right? These guys are coming from a field of legacy experience.
Yeah.
So when a new game comes out, they already have that, you know, that pro experience to where they're able to, you know, pick up the game more easier compared to someone who's just now getting into it, you know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, obviously, you know, we were losing to people back then just as we are now. Like, I was losing to a lot of pro players back then, so I can't really use the excuse to where, like, okay, well, if I'm losing now, right, if I'm losing then I'm losing the same way, you know, I would, you know, if I was playing now. Yeah. So it's the same situation.
Yeah.
So like for example, like Tekken 8, like Tekken 8, you would say that that's something to where everybody will relearning something, right? Because there was new moves, there was a new balance system, combo system, whatnot. Like, it wasn't the same tailspin, whatnot. Yep. And it was a whole different new mechanic. Like, it was like a brand new mechanic. So like everybody was kind of like at the same beginner like side. Like, even though you had pro players that had experience, and like I said, you still have like the legacy intact, but for the most part, it's a new game. Yep. So like, there's gonna be new things you have to learn, right?
Yep.
But like that's mainly like in like most fighting games. Like even like Mortal Kombat 1, like it's still like a brand new game. You have to learn new characters and whatnot, and what but it's like a pro player is gonna have a faster, they're gonna run faster because they have more experience.
Yep. So why? So are they? So at least in the NRS scene, are they worried about? Are they worried about the game being dumbed down? Are they worried about losing their edge? Like, again, like obviously you saw the back and forth between me and many of these people, right? Which is sort of weird because again, I don't come from a professional setting. I just come from an MK fan. Is this fun? Obviously, they're when they look at a game, they're looking at the intricacies. They're going, right, this is the moves, this is the combos, what avenues and paths do I have to be able to create these combos, what punishes this, what punishes that, right? Are they worried about, like, are they worried about losing their edge? Like, it's just, like, it just sort of felt very, I thought it was a very big over-exaggeration. Do you know what I mean? Like, because the reason why I say that is because, like, you've been a fan of the channel and you're a good friend, and you've been in the Discord for a long time. And the one question I asked you the other day, but I'm going to ask you again so everyone can hear it. Why, and because you've obviously played MK too, you love MK, right? So why, as you, who's also competed for a long time, why did you not come with that same attitude or angst towards me like some of the other ones did?
Well, the reason why is because, and I'm pretty sure I told you this answer the other day. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
I understand, you have the video game world and then you have reality, right?
Yep.
So I know how to, separate myself from both realms. I call it both realms. So when I heard you make your, take on it, like I always respect people's opinion, because I'm not coming from someone who's like overly emotional towards like, oh man, he's talking down on MK1. Oh, I gotta check this clown. Like no, I understood where you was coming from because that was just your opinion.
Yeah.
But I think like there was some areas to where like this guy, he definitely he's on the right page. He has the puzzles.
Yep.
It's just the issue is he just needs help putting those puzzles together. Like you had all the pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like when I heard, Diddle and Foxy Grandpa, for those guys to be pro players and for those guys to be they quote unquote help people, I think from my perspective of someone who used to compete and who used to teach people and help people learn the game, I think it was kind of disappointing because of the fact that I was in their shoes competing and doing all this shit. So as a pro player, right, it's our job to help the beginner players understand, what they say, what they think isn't the right thing, and what certain things they're saying that it is the right situation, right? So that's why when I was talking to you about it, I was like, like you're not entirely wrong about it, but here's some things that you are wrong about because, like, I'm a very understanding person. Like I wanted to have a conversation with people without, making slick remark jokes and whatnot and like disrespecting and whatnot. Because I understand like we're all human beings, so like there's things that we're not going to be perfect on that we can just help each other like understand. Because like I said, I'm coming from a generation to where I was just like you, to where there were some errors to where I didn't understand. I thought I knew it.
Yep. And
I got sat down. I was like, okay, like, person sat me down. Like, look, man, what you're saying is full of shit, but I'm gonna help you. And that's just like me just taking what I've learned and just applying it. and doing whatever I can to give that knowledge, you know. And it's just that, unfortunately, you know, those two idiots, they just wasn't doing that day, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean that's the thing. Like, you know, like I respect what they've done, or at least, you know, I don't know if Diddle's competed, but I do know Foxy has, and he's respected it. I mean, at the end of last year, I jumped in a game of Halo with him on PC. At the end of last year, and everything was fine or whatever, right? But it just sort of, yeah, again, like comparing the camps of Street Fighter and Tekken and stuff, like, you know, I'm sure there's many people in Tekken out there that make videos that are probably sitting there, they're saying they don't like the gameplay, you know, or, you know, saying it's way too aggressive with Tekken 8 and all that sort of stuff. But I'm not seeing the same sort of, I'm not seeing the same sort of level of anger against them. And is it because there's no legacy? Is it because there's a, you know, there's a protectedness to what they've achieved, and the fact that they probably do to some degree work harder because they have to relearn an entire new game every time, and they think that, oh, you know, here's this dude over here spouting his mouth off, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But the thing is, I never said I was a professional or anything like that. I just go, well, I'm an MK fan. I've played since the true MK1, not whatever this one's called. And you know, I played a lot online on PS3 on MK9. That was a lot of fun. You know, I played a lot against New Zealanders and Australians, so the only good connections we could get. But even then, like but because the game was good, and I think this is really important, because the game was phenomenal, like not just good, phenomenal, it made me want to jump in and learn more. I feel that excitement about Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. I actually felt that about Tekken 8. I haven't played too much Tekken 8 lately, just been playing other games. But those two games got me very excited to want to learn more, right? Which by the way, I still have to hit you up for some more wiring. Actually, help me with some wiring stuff, because I haven't. I think I'm hitting a wall. But MK1, I never felt that, right? So you got some of these guys who are very defensive of the game, you know, and obviously they're enjoying it. And you know, it's like, oh, we don't know this, I don't know that. It's like, okay, but now I do know it, but it's not changing anything. The game has a lot of sort of fundamental issues. There's a lot of animation issues. I've been saying that for years about the games, the NRS games. Hitboxing is an issue. The stiffness of the character movements is an issue. And then, of course, they add in cameos, and then the game just feels so overly aggressive. And then their counter argument to that was like, well, you know, Tekken's got big combos to carry you, and other fighting games have big combos to carry you. And my counter argument to that is, I've never come across that because I don't play at high level. I'm just, you know, I just jump in casual, right? You know, maybe some ranked, but ultimately it's casual play. So I'm not going up against those guys at that level. So I think there's a fundamental difference in either understanding or just, you know, experience there. You know, I've never gone to a tournament. You know, I've played a bit of ranked on MK just so I can get some stuff unlocked. But ultimately, I'm just sitting in casual if I do play online just to have some fun. But what I did find is that because of the design of MK1, everyone is corralled into like, well, I need to do the most optimal path. You know, I think you said that with Tekken 8, like everyone's playing the same. Like it's sort of, you know, everyone's just going into this same sort of like, they're just playing the same. There's no sort of nuance or difference in play style, you know, at the moment with Tekken 8 because of the overly aggressive nature. When you've got a lot of defensive, when I play Grand Blue, because there's a lot of offensive and defensive, I can play any style I want, and I've also seen people play any style they want because the defensive options that they have, I have, and the offensive options I have, they have, you know, and variations between characters. So MK1 felt like the most aggressive MK game I'd ever played. And I was simply saying, I think we just need more defensive options. You know, just, you know, that everyone has access to, you know what I mean? It's sort of weird. It's like I'm not asking it just for myself when I get them and no one else has them. Everyone, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has them. Now, just to finalize, because I want to hear your opinion, like, because Foxy said, I think once that, you know, obviously the goal is to try and kill your opponent as fast as possible. But But again, the large majority of people playing the video game are just trying to have fun and enjoy it. So they don't want to be carried for 14 or 17 seconds, you know, in a combo and lose half their health, where they can literally put the controller down and just wait. That doesn't seem fun. You know what I mean? Like that. Take that equivalent and put it into a racing game, and imagine you crash your car, and the car crash takes 17 seconds because you got run off the road. That's a long time. Even a second is a long time in a fighting game. So imagine, you know, 10 seconds, 14 seconds, 17 seconds. It takes too long. And so from their perspective, I can see they don't care. They just want to kill you, get you out of the way, get their medal, get their money, end of day. But for the casual player, they're like, no, I want some back and forth. I want to try things out. I want to, you know, see what we can do. So yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely differences there in terms of like how they view the product. You know, one as a means to an end, and another one as a source of fun, perhaps. I don't know.
No, you're right. Yeah, I think for most of the part, it's mainly due to the fact that just to go back to the first point you made,
Yep.
doing with the fact that the whole ego whatnot, because of the most tournament entries or whatnot, because like keep in mind, like these guys, they're constantly winning. So
Yep.
most of the time with the NRS community, like if
Yep.
these guys are always on top,
Yep.
then they feel like everything they say is true.
Yep.
You know, because like I said, there've been times to where like Nee has made statements about Tekken that weren't true,
Yep.
and say they were Arsenal Ash, but they weren't ego trip about it. It wasn't like oh well because I'm a top player,
Yep.
you know, my word is true. You know, they wasn't doing that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
but like Foxy Grandpa and them, like they honestly really believe because of the fact that they're always winning tournaments, they're always on top. That means that what they say is actually true when it comes to the game.
Yeah.
Because like there's always things that a person on the bleachers sees more on the field than a person playing.
That's
you
true.
know.
Yeah. So how do you find the middle ground for that sort of thing?
The middle ground, like it's more so the fact of it's like for me, for example, like I'll be like someone who's like the middle person to where like I understand both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
You know, but like when you look at like Foxy Grandpa and them, like they only worry about the pro side of things because
Yeah.
their argument is, well, you just gotta learn, you know, well, let's say up block, right?
Yeah.
You gotta learn up block, dude. You know whatnot. But me, like I understand your point on up blocking, but I understand their point. But then I understand why up blocking on blocking is stupid.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm understanding why it's dumb. Like I know why it's put in the game.
Yeah.
But I understand why it's stupid.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean that was funny because like I remember like I got the two moves confused. There's that mechanic where if you got two bars and you uppercut and you press up and forward and block, you can use two bars and you can jump right after your uppercut, right? I actually kind of like that. I kind of wish it was on one bar because I actually kind of like it. I like, you know, punishing with the uppercut and then immediately following and doing a juggle, right? I actually kind of like that. It looks kind of flashy, right? But it's kind of expensive on two bars. And I even said that to Foxy once. I said, well, you know, how come you good pro guys don't do it? And he goes, why would you? You know, there's no point. Like, it's far too expensive. You know, obviously, because then you're chewing up two bars out of three, which could possibly go to a combo break, right? So I get that. I do. So I got the two confused. But, like, I memed the hell out of that because it's like, well, now that I know what up block is, it doesn't change the game. I actually see more people trying to do up block in-game now. And it doesn't work because I do a lot of empty jumps, right? So they go to up block and I just grab them and throw them and that does more damage because, you know, it actually, you know, you can do more on that. Unless unless I've got that wrong, but I don't think I do. And so, you know, so that's why I just made fun of it. But I know, yeah, like as you said, I know, like we know why it got in there. I think even Tom said it because the jump kicks were so powerful in MK11 that they had to add a counter to that. Rather than just not making the jump kicks as powerful. You know what I mean? Like, they could have just, you know, made it so like, you know, down two or the uppercut, is the punish. You know, it like the old days, like the old MK games. The uppercut was the absolute best anti-air, which I think that's what Rewind was saying in the interview with the guy you mentioned before that interviewed Belina, or I think it was. I think Rewind said it. He goes, which is the uppercut was the anti-air, like it used to be back in the day, you know. And I agree with that because the uppercut is such an iconic MK move above other fighting games. That was its own identity. It had its own sort of uniqueness to it because it would just punish anything, you know, or like almost anything anyway. And you know, I actually thought that was a pretty good take. I agree with that. But yeah, it's like, well, yeah, of course I'm not going to know as much as you guys because you guys do this for a living, right? But that doesn't mean to say I don't know, or anyone else doesn't know what fun is, you know. And because I think they've even admitted themselves, pro players are like less than a percentage of, you know, the overall percentage of players that play MK. So, you know, like 99% of us, if not more than that, would absolutely not be as good or have as much understanding. But that doesn't mean to say that we don't know what fun is, you know. And that's why I think that's where there's a divide there. A lot of these guys are spoken to, like Sikander and stuff like that. They don't seem to. It's like they don't seem to understand the concept of fun. It's like, you know, this thing is supposed to be enjoyable. I pay for something to be enjoyable, right? Rather than, you know, like, it'd be like, you know, I don't know, it'd be like you having the hottest chick in the world as your girlfriend, but every time you have sex, she punches you in the face constantly. It's like, well, I know this is supposed to be fun, but this is highly unenjoyable. You know what I mean? Like, if we take the punching out, it might be a good time, right? So, you know, that's sort of how I see it. And there's a lot of games out there, you know, like my son plays a lot of Rainbow Six Siege. And he says every single time they try and curate the game towards like an esports style, Rainbow Six Siege always gets worse. Because they're catering to a tiny percentile, thinking that tiny percentile, because they're the most vocal about the gameplay, you know, are the sort of, they're the voice for everyone, right? And it's not. So yeah, anyway, so I was rambling a bit.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
So I don't know. So you said you stopped competing. Why did you stop competing? Is it just just gonna let other people have a go because you're too good?
Yeah, no. It's like I have this thing to where like when you know it's time, sometimes you just gotta call it quits and just let the guys behind you just really play.
Yep.
And also too, people know this about me is that I have a low tolerance when it comes to nowadays fighting game mechanics, where I get pissed off easily.
Yeah.
Because I know why I'm losing, right? I'm losing because like 90% of the time I'm losing because of the game and not the player, right? And it's not to shit on anyone's like their skill level.
Yeah.
But I know exactly why I'm losing. Like with Tekken 8, like I haven't played Tekken 8 in about 3 weeks, maybe, you know.
Wow.
And that's just because of the fact that like once I like broke down the game and understood it for what it's supposed to be, I stopped playing it.
Yeah.
Because it's like okay, like if I'm gonna have to deal with this, I can't block because I'm gonna get punished for blocking, then I won't play this no more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that's a shame.
Yeah, so like I'm more organic when it comes to like fighting games. So I'm like organic. I'm talking about like the old fighting games. Like I like it because that like those games weren't like any GMO shit process. It was a lot of organic, natural shit. Like everything in those old fighting games, it felt natural. Yeah. Now everything just feels like a fucking chore. Like every time I'm fucking playing a person, it's like I'm clocking in for work or something. It's like, dude, like I just got off work. Yeah. I want to come here and relax, and I gotta clock right back in. You know, it's like
yeah. I mean, that is the thing, like, isn't it? Like, it sort of, you know, it sort of feels like, especially that way in like, MK1, everyone's just taking turns, bang, 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 bang. All right, now it's my turn, bang, bang, bang. Like there's just sort of no, I don't know. There's just no nuance. Like it's just not like the old games. I don't know. I think I wish that like MK would go back to its true legacy, and less is more. I'm not a fan of doing combos without touching the person, right? So, like, and like I loved MK9, but one of my negatives of MK9 is the fact that you do combos without touching a person. I hate that. Like I accept it in Tekken and Virtual Fighter and say Dead or Alive because like they're 3D fighters and stuff, but and it was just a staple from the beginning. But like MK combos in terms of like their dialer combos, which came with MK3, you had to be touching the person. Same with MK4, and then in the 3D era, they made it like Tekken, where you don't even have to be touching. You can do the combos, and I always found that sort of that quasi shadow boxing type shit annoying. I don't like it. And then they kept that in MK9. So sometimes I've noticed, like, you can have combos done in you, and some of their hits aren't even hitting, but because you've been caught up in part of it, you're still, then you're in the whirlwind, and you can't get out of it, And I prefer it would scale back to original. I think I asked you the other day, like, and I'm pretty sure, like, I'm just double checking just so I'm not a complete dipshit. You can't actually do combos on someone unless you're touching in Street Fighter, correct? Like you've still got to be right on top of them, to start doing whatever combo strings you can do, correct?
Yeah, you gotta be right on top of them. I mean, sometimes you might get lucky with like you do like a Hadouken or someone, you might get lucky and try like a drive rush and combo after that Hadouken went out, but for the most part, like, you gotta be on top of them to do a combo,
Yeah. So I'm assuming then, since you haven't been playing Tekken 8, you've been playing tons of Street Fighter.
Well, I just got back on Street Fighter because of Akuma. Like, I still play Street Fighter more.
Yeah.
But like the current game I've been playing a lot is Destiny 2. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been on that game. Like that's pretty much the main game I've been playing. Yeah, obviously Akuma coming back. I was gonna play him. Like Akuma's not like my main character, but I do like Akuma. So for the most part, so far I've been playing him. He's pretty fun to play with. For the most part.
Have they made any changes to Akuma that you've noticed from previous iterations of him?
Oh well, yeah, they gave him a command grab now. You can like each version of his Hadouken can be held into it's like it might as well be an EX version of Hadouken because you can hold it up to where it's an actual the fire Hadouken, right? Because before to get the fire animation, it was a different input, but now it's for light Hadouken, medium Hadouken, and heavy Hadouken. You do the same thing with you can hold it, right? But that's what that point. He still has his teleport, still has his dive kicks, still has his jump fireballs and stuff like that. So he still has that stuff. Yeah. But he like the newest thing he has is the fact he can hold the Hadouken now, and he has a command grab. So that's the two new things.
That's pretty cool. I'll have to check him out. I've only played a little bit, but I didn't know about the command grab on that. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. So, this is a weird question. Was there ever actually any fights at the fights back in the day? Like, were there any?
Oh yeah.
Work out?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Like there was a lot of fights, man. I remember like back in like the arcade days, man. Like if you grabbing was a sin, like pretty much, and grabbing. Either you got punched or you got jumped. That's just like people do not like getting thrown. Like, and that's a big no.
Yeah.
Like if you were grabbing all day long, you were considered pussy. Yeah. Which I agree. Like if you grab me all day long, you just don't know how to play fighting games. That's my opinion. Yeah. But yeah, there was some fights broken out. Yeah. I actually I recommend people they should watch the Chinatown Fair documentary that's on YouTube. Yeah. Not Chinatown, but it's a Chinatown arcade in New York. Like that shit. it pretty much highlights the dark side of Chinatown Fair,
Yep.
the arcade. So it's pretty interesting, you know.
Yep. Do you think esport, like, do you think the fighting game scene as far community as far as like esports go has a future, or like is it growing again, or do you think it, you know, or like it's just kind of, you know, settled down and
It's growing for sure, but it's growing in the wrong wrong light, because esports doesn't care about the community. They only care about bringing in the money, you know. Like if like I said like before, like it stopped being a community in like 2013, 12, right? So it's more so it's a fighting game scene now.
Yeah.
It's no longer a community, you know, because if it wasn't for the community, there would be no esports, you know, because the community is the think about it, right? You started off playing in the arcades, then tournaments are happening in like bars, right? Then we started having tournaments and like venues, right?
Yep.
And now we got, you know, arenas now, you know.
Yep.
And also we have ballrooms. So it went ballroom, so it went arcades, bars, ballrooms, venues, and now we have arenas now. Like I appreciate it, because like for anyone just joining into the community, right? Like you're like, oh man, like this is like nice. Like you got nice shit. It's like a lot of convention stuff you can buy, cosplaying and whatnot.
Yep.
But from someone who's been playing since the arcade days, just seeing just where the community has gone to now is definitely great. But people got to understand that it's not in the best intentions as people think it is. You know, like I'm definitely, you know, proud that fighting games are now looked at as something good. You know, because fighting games have always been at like the bottom of the barrel compared to like Call of Duty or like first-person shooter, all that stuff, right? So it's always been at the bottom of the barrel. But to see it now, like there's money being involved, big sponsorships, it's on ESPN. It's like, man, this is pretty cool, man. But it's obviously, you know, not everything stays good for like a long time, you know. So once I started understanding the blueprint behind esports, it's like, yeah, this not gonna be good for the community itself, you know.
Yeah. Do you think that's the reason why they're doing a lot of guest characters? Because like, keep in mind, like, so Street Fighter has none, Tekken has none, like Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8. Grand Blue only has one guest character. But Mortal Kombat is probably the leader when it comes to pushing all of that sort of stuff, right? Do you think that's the reason why they're doing it? I mean, you know, I would say so, but the reason why they push guest characters so much is that because they're trying to pull in, you know, all the normies, you know, from all these different sort of fan bases that normally wouldn't be interested.
Oh wait, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay, no, that's right. So going like, so do you think that that's the reason why, like, say NRS are banking so hard on guest characters, is to try and bring in, like, you know, crowds of people that normally wouldn't be interested in fighting games to give them a shot, you know? Because as you said, like, fighting games are a lot more accepted, you know, it's a lot more funny, you know, and like fun in terms of, like, you know, how they used to be, a lot more sort of, a lot easier to get into, I suppose. You know, there's a lot of training wheels and stuff. But do you think from like a advertising perspective, you know, NRS has gone full hard in guest characters, you know?
Well, no, I think it's just more so the fact of Ed Boon being a fan of horror movies and whatnot. I mean, obviously, it's good to bring in more audience to play the game, you know? But yeah, I think it's more so the fact that Ed Boon, he's just a fan of horror movies and whatnot, you know? Like, he's big on 80s shit. Like, he likes Alien, he likes Predator, he likes Terminator, he likes all this, he likes Jason, you know? Like, so, like, it benefits the fact that, okay, like, these characters I like, they could be in the game, but it also just, it brings in money. So, I mean, me personally, I don't think guest characters are, like, wrong. Like, I think it's cool to see them in there. Like, I kind of see how people just don't like guest characters being in the game because they don't fit, you know? But, like, it's anything with, like, Tekken 7. Like, like Harada, he loves Walking Dead. So like obviously bringing in Negan, you know, you're gonna bring in a lot of Walking Dead fans who love Negan, you know, or anyone who currently plays Tekken and they love Negan, they're gonna buy Negan. So it's like it works both ways. So
yeah. I just wonder like how many stick around though. You know, like obviously they did Omni-Man, you know, Peacemaker, and then of course now Homelander's upcoming. You know, so I wonder sort of how many people really stick around after that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, is the financial investment to put these characters in the game enough of a payoff? You know, like I'm not sure it is. Like, I don't think it sells bucket loads because, you know, you can run around as Homelander. You know, especially someone that isn't into fighting games. They'll muck around for a bit, but I can't imagine them sticking with it, you know, too much. Which also goes back to my argument about, you know, maybe the game should be a little bit more balanced when it comes to defensive options, because then when somebody gets online, you know, there's that typical Omni-Man combo that they do. Everyone does the same combo every single time, right? You know, they're going to get online, they're going to experience that, and then be like, nah, you know, I'm not interested. So yeah, I mean, they got a sale, sure, but like, you know, obviously a lot of companies these days, they don't want, you know, like you play Destiny. I'm assuming Destiny 2 has an in-game shop, correct? I haven't loaded up for a while, but I'm assuming it does. Does Destiny 2?
It does, yeah, it does.
So companies want to not just have you buy the game, they want to have you start to invest in the game, you know, spending more money, you know, buying additional costumes, outfits, anything that they have available. So they're going to want to try and keep those people around. And part of that is obviously making sure that the game is fun, which has always been my argument. But as far as like guest characters go, I just see them like in MK. Like I kind of wish that they followed like with what Harada and like does and with Capcom with Street Fighter, is that they give us like all the Street Fighter or Tekken characters first, and I want them to give us all the MK characters first before we even think about guest characters. Guest characters should be an afterthought. At the end of the life cycle, let's drum up some interest and, you know, get them in there. Because I see a guest character in MK take away MK character slot. That's how I see it in MK. So
yeah, like I don't have a problem with it. It's just, I mean, certain guest characters, yeah, like it's a little bit of a problem, I guess. But for the most part, I mean, I don't really care for it, you know.
Who were your main? So going back through all the fighting games that you competed in, who were your main characters for each of the ones that you used or played? Sorry.
So for Tekken, it was Lei Wulong and Paul. MK9, I main Liu Kang and Smoke.
Yep.
But in MK9, I could play the whole cast, right?
Yeah.
But it was mainly those two, right? Marvel, I kind of just played who I like playing. So that's like Wolverine, maybe Cyclops, maybe Ken or Ghost Rider or whatnot.
Yeah.
Street Fighter, Ken and Ryu for the most part. And then if Alex is in the game, I'll play Alex as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
What draws you to the character? Do you look at the move list and go, right, this is a better suit for me, or do you actually look at a character and go, yep, they look badass, and regardless of their moveset, I'm gonna try and perfect them? Like, what's the driving force for you when it comes to choosing a fighter, especially like in a competitive side? You know.
So me, I'm not a tier whore, right? So I don't play top tier characters.
Okay. So
I mainly play characters that are very cool looking. Like for example, Ken and Ryu. They're just it might be basic, but I'm like a big fan of Kung Fu. So when I see those two guys, like I'm just like, oh man, I gotta play these guys. And obviously Alex is a big dude, big brute. So I kind of like playing him with that. Liu Kang's the same way. Obviously Kung Fu.
Yep.
I played Goro too at MKX. You know, I'm just a big fan of Goro.
Yep.
Lei Wulong, obviously, like Jackie Chan is my favorite kung fu actor of all time.
Oh yeah.
So that just made it a plus that it was this Lei Wulong was based on Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously Paul, for anyone who doesn't know this, Paul is actually based on Chuck Norris.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, he's based on Chuck Norris. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that like the arcade. I was like, because I asked my older brother about it. I was like, who is Paul supposed to be? Because he broke it down. He was like, martial law. Well, force law. Force law was based on Bruce, obviously.
Yep.
Label law was based on Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, who's Paul based on? He was like, Chuck Norris. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, Chuck Norris.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. Yeah. Yeah. If we give Chuck Norris a brick for a hairdo.
Yeah.
Shit. Wow. That's really cool though. Yeah. That's actually one of the characters I miss actually. Is Fei Long. You know, from Street Fighter. You know, because
Fei Long.
When Fei came out, like when he came out, like for the new challenges, it was awesome, dude. Like that was like one of the early days of like, because so as far as arcade goes, that was kind of like DLC, wasn't it? You know, you had Super Street Fighter 2, the new challenges. That was was the new challenges Super Street Fighter 2, or was it just Super Street Fighter 2, and then we got the new challenges? I can't remember. Which
I think it was this.
Yeah.
I think it was Super Street Fighter Turbo. I think Turbo.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I think it was Challengers.
Yeah. So that was kind of like DLC, right? And then you've got like MK3 got DLC with Ultimate. You know, so that was like arcade versions of DLC, I suppose. There's probably other games that have done it too, but as far as like fighting games go, that was it. Is there a character in a fighting game that when you see it, you're just like, I will never fucking touch that character, like ever?
Oh yeah, of course.
Who's that?
I got three right now.
Okay.
Magneto. I don't like Magneto. I'll never play it. Magneto Marvel 2 was a fucking pain. I don't like him. Don't like playing against him.
Yep.
I might just rage quit if you start him at point. Now, starting him at point is when you have the character out first. So, if you have the character out with Magneto first, most likely I'm not gonna be playing the game because I'm gonna be stuck in a combo infinite that I can't get out of.
Yep.
MKX, boy, there's a lot of characters in MKX. But the main two, Alien, I did not like fighting Alien at all, period. Predator was annoying. I mean, I didn't like fighting a lot of characters in that game because that game was so mix up heavy.
Yep.
So that game alone, that might well just be the character itself. MKX is a whole character. I didn't like fighting MKX.
Yeah.
Tekken. Let me see. In Tekken, I don't like fighting the Mishimas, especially Jin. Like, I think Jin is just super carried. Like, I don't like fighting Jin at all. Period.
Yeah.
Like, I actually, out of all characters in Tekken, I still struggle with Jin a lot because I just don't like. Because like when I'm fighting against Jin, like if I get hit with something, I'm automatically just like, dude, like this character carries. Like,
so explain to people what that means for those that don't know what being carried means.
So pretty much a character that has the best buttons. You don't have to work for like your pressure and whatnot. Character, it kind of like, for example, I'm pretty sure we got some Tekken 8 players in the chat right now. I think Toby may have heard me say it before.
Yep.
But Reina is a perfect example of an autopilot character to where she literally plays the game for you. All you have to do is move forward and push buttons.
Yep.
You know? Same thing with Azucena. She's definitely carried. A good example of this will be Cyrax in the beginning of Mortal Kombat 1. He's definitely a carry cameo.
Yep.
Because Cyrax, see what he just worked on with every character, whatnot. Chameleon, it's definitely a carry cameo. Somebody from Street Fighter 6 would be like Luke. Luke is definitely carried. JP, you can say JP is definitely carried and whatnot.
Yep.
So that would be like that's like when we might carry, like to where you don't have to work as hard as you would with a character that just sucks. Like he's low tier.
Yep.
You know?
You said something before about mix-ups, so I'm not going to try. I can think about what that means in my head, but do you want to explain what like the mix-ups are? I'm assuming that's what they refer to as like 50-50s, like so you it's essentially guesswork, right? So
yes. So you're pretty much guessing, right?
Yep.
So like this is why I call Tekken 8 Casino 8.
Yep.
Because it's like, why go to a casino where you can just gamble your whole life away by playing Tekken 8? You know, because you're constantly having to guess. You're constantly having to guess. Okay, is he gonna go low? Is he gonna go for a mid? You know,
Yep.
So that's what it means by mix ups.
So do you think
because
do you think that should be removed from fighting games? Do you think there's no place for it? Because I don't.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Well, no, because like throughout fighting games, there's always been specific characters that their whole offense was based on mix ups. Like Lei Wulong.
Yep.
Like Lei Wulong has all these stances, so he's a mix up character.
Yep.
You know, like Baraicho. He's a mix up character. You know, so like that's what I meant by earlier about standout gameplay.
Yeah.
Like you had certain characters that are very mix up characters. You got characters that are very defensive characters, like Sub-Zero. Like Sub-Zero is a very defensive character, right? And like someone like Martial Law. Like Martial Law is a very offensive character, But I think the issue is that every character has mix-ups now. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's probably like, maybe that's probably one of my issues with MK1. Because it seems like some of the characters do have, you're thinking, you're guessing. Like for example, like Cage is a good example. The combo literally starts off the same, and then he can either go low or he can either go high. But as soon as if you obviously don't catch it, he catches you, and then you can lose anywhere between a third to almost half your health, right? So it feels, I guess in some ways it feels like the punishment doesn't fit the crime, right? So you whiff on a punch and then they take half your health, right? That's what I don't like about it, and I know other games obviously do that. I know, with Tekken 8, I've gotten into some massive combos that'll carry me across the screen on a nice little airplane trip, but I always sort of felt like I can still come back from that, and I sometimes have, because I've got my movement, I'm not stuck in a locked position, just back and forward and up and down. I can move in and out, so that gives me some ability to try and navigate. Once I get out of that combo, I can then try and work around that. I feel less inclined with that with MK1. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, do you think? So you don't think every single character should have mix-ups? Or 50-50s?
No, I think it should be designated to certain characters.
Yeah.
I think there should be like an all-around variety of play styles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like I said, like if every character can do the same same thing, that it just becomes boring.
Yeah. So what's your major issue with MK1? Like, what was the thing that really just let you to go, no, I've had enough. I'm not dealing with this shit. So.
Well, because of the fact that it's Moron Combat 11.0. That's literally what it is. It's just added in, cameos, assists, whatnot. Which, I mean, we've already seen this happen before. If you play like the Test Your Luck events and whatnot in Moron Combat 11, so we've already seen this happen. So it's like this really isn't nothing new. Like we've already seen it if you just paid attention. So.
Yeah.
But that's mainly my issue. Like that's my issue with it. And just the fact that I knew the cameo system wasn't going to work, because it was just going to be, all right, let's quickly find like the best cameo and everybody's going to rock them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't see too much variety, whether it be in casual or ranked, with characters or the cameo. Like it's always sort of a it's the same sort of sets, and then usually with that same set, I can almost predict the combo that they're going to do, which just sucks. It just feels it's just boring to fight against because there's no variety, and it's just a shame. I felt like, you said you could pretty much play as everyone MK9 back in the day. I love playing as all characters in MK9. Doesn't mean to say I was great at them, but I always felt like, you know, any character I chose in MK9 had a good kit. You know, I felt like, yeah, I know their moves, I know some of their combos, and I had a good time. You know, I sort of, you know, I felt like when I lost, it was because it was a better player. I didn't feel like I was, as you said, also, you know, you're not fighting the game and then fighting the player, right? And that's where I feel like NRS has changed when when they first sort of revealed MK10 and I started playing MK10, I noticed how different it felt from MK9. I felt like, you know, I just kind of started feeling this sticky feeling to characters, like, you know, like I get stuck, or you know, the animation just felt very stiff. And there was a breakdown video on YouTube many years ago. Even the character stances, you know, so the way they stand, you know, because people were saying, well, they look very unnatural compared to, say, other fighting games and the way that they're drawn or created. And it turns out, yeah, like just even the way that they sort of had animated their characters and the positions of their hips and their legs looked very, yeah, it just looked really bizarre. I don't know. I think MK should just be reworked from the ground up for the next game. Just complete trash. Just dump every code and just rework the game literally from the ground up.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
You know, like, what would you want to see? Like, what would you want MK to be at a position where you'd want to play it again?
Shaolin Monks too. I think their days of making. I honestly believe the glory days of MK9 is done. I think what we see is what we're gonna get for the next title. So I think they should just focus on Shaolin Monks too. Honestly, so.
So you're saying? So do you think their strength is in you know, just making single player games, or at least co-op games? You know, perhaps.
Yeah, because like they've shown like they can make a decent fighting game story.
Yeah.
Right. But like in terms of just fighting games, there's no balance in it. You know, like I said, like MK9 was the most unbalanced fighting in NRS fighting game, but it was the most enjoyable. You know.
Yep.
Out of all the NRS games that we've gotten, you know, since 2011. So it's just like, if they can't understand just how much MK9 really meant, because it honestly, it's the game that put them back on the market after being bankrupt with the whole fucking midway shit.
Yep.
So you would think that the game that put them back on the map, that they will be praising for it, you know, but who knows?
Yeah, I've always said this. I reckon that like if they ever remastered MK9, like not only like and remastered, like I mean the only thing that technically needs remastering in MK9, because the PC version's pretty awesome, but the cutscenes look woeful. Like the cutscenes are like really low res. So if they upscaled or at least gave us the proper like say like 1080p 4K cutscenes, gave us PC versions on every platform, you know, added in proper netcode, you know, modern day netcode like what we have with MK11 and 1, or even better. I don't think I wouldn't even bother with MK1. I wouldn't MK11, MK10. I'd be on MK9 every day. Like MK9 was just, it was incredible. It was just absolutely incredible. It was like, it actually felt like they listened to the fans, you know, because there was like I think a 6-year gap between MK Armageddon and MK9. You know, that's a really long time. That's over half a decade, you know, waiting for a new MK game. And when we got it, when we started seeing the teasers and everything, it's like every piece of information that came out was just, it was just like, you know, heaven, you know, God giving us gifts. It was so, as an MK fan, I was just stoked. They could do no wrong. It was perfect, you know, for me. And I reckon, like, if they ever brought it back, I like MK1 would be dead overnight. It'd just be dead. You know, everyone would be back.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, definitely, most definitely.
I wonder if that's why they delisted it, because they saw MK9 as a threat to their future games. Because there was no reason for them to delist it. You know, yeah, they could have patched out Freddy if it was a licensing issue. Yeah, take out Freddy. I don't care. Like, big deal. You know, just give us the game. And I reckon that's the reason why. You know, I think they wanted to basically wipe away the old slate. They also delisted too the arcade collection as well. So their arcade games, MK1, 1, 2, and Ultimate, you can't. You know, they delisted them as well. It's almost like
okay, now that I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like you can't buy them anymore. It's almost like they were ashamed, or basically were trying to like rewrite history and say, hey, you know, this is what you get now. This is the only MK you can get. But you know, like MK9, like you know, even you know, you've been talking about like it's just not even the modern games they bring out hold a candle. Like it was just incredible. You know, it just hit different, and it was so good. But yeah, I think I mean, I'd agree. I think that, you know, they certainly know how to do their single player story stuff really well. They could certainly do a Shaolin Monks 2 style game, and I think it would sell very well. You could make it co-op, you know, even make it 4-player co-op, you know, run around together, beat the shit out of thing. You know, you could have, it could be awesome. But I don't know. I just like, because we had the 30th anniversary, right? And what did we get? We got a trailer. You know.
That's it. Yep, that's it.
Like,
that's all we get.
Just a fucking trailer of them going, thank you, right? And it's like, listen, just give us all the old shit. Like, do a collection, man. Fucking Capcom's been doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if Capcom's next collection was like a versus collection. You know, so they stick in their X-Men versus, you know, Street Fighter, you know, Marvel vs. Street Fighter, you know, start putting in those older games, you know, into like a versus collection. That'd be mad, dude. Imagine playing that shit now. Holy shit. Capcom versus, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. You know, like...
Oh yeah, that would be, man, oh gosh, that'd be so good.
That'd be amazing, right? Like, you know, because they can easily do it. You know, like I've got some old games that I've reviewed on the channel. Like they brought out, what was it, Rumblefish 1 and 2. They were old arcade games. Now, obviously, there's not a whole bunch of people playing them, but if little developers can bring back these arcade games or older games and, you know, give them the proper netcode and stick them on, you know, every platform, then I don't see why they can't do it.
Well, with Marvel 2, they did what they remastered Marvel 2 and put it on a PS3.
Yep.
But it was just so laggy on there. But
yep.
I mean, with Marvel 2, if it's not being played on the Dreamcast, I'm not playing it as this. I'm not playing on there. So I have to play Marvel 2 on the Dreamcast. You know, I have to.
That did cement it. That did cement the console with that release too. I mean, the Dreamcast fucking had some bangers, dude. You had what? Was it Power Stone? Was it Power Stone?
Yeah, it was Power Stone.
Power Stone. You had Soul Calibur. You had Marvel 2. Yeah, they were killing it. Like, they were fucking killing it back in the day. They did so good.
Yeah, Dreamcast really good. Yeah.
Did you ever play online on the Dreamcast on Marvel 2? Could you play
no,
online?
I only play it. No, I played it offline.
Okay.
Offline. I didn't play it online. No.
Remember the memory cards for the Dreamcast, dude? You had its own little screen. And
oh god.
Yeah, that was so cool, man.
Oh man, that shit was cool.
Yeah. All right. So if you want, we can wrap up. But first, if you want, I'll ask if there's anyone in the chat that has any questions for you. See if there's anything they want to ask or whatever. But thanks, man. We've been meaning to do this for days and finally got around to doing it. So thank you. So
yeah, no problem, man. No problem.
But yeah, no, I love fight. Like what else is coming out? Shit. Oh, we got a new character coming out for DNF Duel. That's pretty cool. We obviously are we getting Riot's DXKO or DKO or 2KO? Sorry, 2KO, 2XKO. Is that coming out this year from Riot?
Talking about Project L?
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly can't wait for that game to come out. I'm just gonna be playing that shit a lot. So
yeah. Outlaw Dragoon says, "You guys remember Capcom versus SNK 2?"
Yeah, like even like the soundtrack on there is like really good. I remember that shit. Yeah.
I that was
we were playing that.
because I liked it too because they put the SNK art style for Street Fighter characters, so that was really cool actually. I liked. I did that was a pretty good crossover. So, Street Fighter EX plus Alpha. Oh god, huh. I remember
that's
that.
good too.
That was the okay. So I remember playing that because it was the first time I actually had to do each individual Hurricane kick in Ryu, like Ryu's kick, right? Because you had to keep going quarter circle back kick, quarter circle back kick, quarter circle back kick to do the Hurricane kick for that game. That was crazy. That was so good. We got some really unique. Oh yeah, because we've also got what's that game on oh fuck, what was it? Is it Fighting EX Layer on Steam?
Yeah, Fighting EX Layer. Yeah, I think that's the 3D one. Free Fighter. Yeah.
So they've got like all those. I think they got most of those characters like Skullomania and fucking all that shit. Kyrie, I think it was. Like those characters are in that. Yeah. That was fucking good too. I had a friend of mine. He loved. It was a Garuda. Fuck, he was a fiend with Garuda because he could get the spikes coming out. And yeah, he was just a nightmare. Like playing against him when he was using that character. So, yeah, I love all those. I love like probably. Did you like the Alpha series, right? Like Street Fighter Alpha series.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff. Yeah.
What's your favorite of all three? You reckon?
Third Strike.
Yeah. Oh no, not the Strike series.
Oh, my bad.
The Alpha.
Oh, Alpha 2,
Yeah,
Alpha 2, Alpha 2, Alpha 2.
Why Alpha 2 over Alpha 3?
I mean, mainly because of Ken's look in there. So that's because remember he had the long ponytail hair look shit. So I thought that was just cool on him. So that's mainly why, honestly.
Ken's very popular. So you as far as like the Street Fighter 3 series, because I think I only ever played Third Strike the most. Did you like? Okay, so when did they introduce? Was the parry system brought in on Street Fighter 3, like the first one, or did that come in later? Yeah.
No, it was Third Strike.
So did you like that?
No, I didn't. I didn't like it. I mean, there was a skill to it, but I didn't like it. I mean, back then there was skill behind the perfect parry, or not the perfect parry, just parry, right? But now it's just like it's kind of easy to do perfect parry now. You know, you just gotta work on timing, you know. But I mean, it's a defensive tool. I mean, I'll take it, and it's not like it's designated to one character. Like everyone can do it, you know. So I mean, I ain't got no problem with it, you know.
What was he? Oh yeah. So you used Ken. Who would be a second favorite in Street Fighter Third Strike?
Alex.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Alex. I'm pretty much a big fan of Ken, Ryu, and Alex. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And maybe Poison. Maybe Poison.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I looked into the whole Poison thing, right? Because because obviously, like in the West, apparently she's like transgender, but originally, this is from what I read, is that she is female, so I'm going with female. I have a female mod for Street Fighter Cross Tekken, with no wing wang. And originally, like when they brought, what was it? It was a Final Fight, wasn't it? When they brought that over, they couldn't have men beating up women, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it's it's actually dudes dressed up as, you know.
Remember that? Right? I remember that.
And that's always been sort of a contentious topic over the years. But no, I'm always going with Poison being female. Thanks. That's the original intent.
Yeah, she's female. Yeah, right? That's original intent.
That's how it is. So Outworld mentioned Killer Instinct. Do you like Killer Instinct?
Soundtracks, gameplay, no. I mean, I like Saber Wolf, you know, but that's about it, you know. Yeah. Django just a rip off of Ryu and Ken, so. Yeah.
It's so now. I must have. Did you ever play much of the SNK fighting games, like Neo Geo fighting games? Anything like World Heroes, Samurai Shodown, Fatal Fury, any of that sort of stuff?
Not too much, you know. But I have played Samurai Shodown, but not too much though.
Yeah, because I did it like ages ago. I did a review of Art of Fighting, right? And I remember when Art of Fighting came out because it was pretty cool because you had the scaling of the characters. It would like zoom in and then zoom out. But what I forgot was that like you've got a taunt meter. So when you taunt them, you take away like their taunt bar, and that bar or whatever, or the spirit bar, whatever it is, and that bar is what they use to do special moves. So if you taunt them enough, you can actually like take away their special moves, like their ability to do special moves. And then also in that game, they also had injuries. So if you got hit in the face too much, it would start to swell up and then start to go like purpley black color, bruising. Like Samurai Showdown had the ability to like obviously like kill people at the end if you got like the final strike. I think it was Fatal Fury. Was it Fatal Fury, the one where you could dodge in and out of the background? You know, so you could actually they actually had like two planes of fighting, so you could kind of like, you know, dodge it, like you could jump into the background, you know, and then jump back again and stuff. Like they were kind of innovative. Like Neo Geo they were trying some different shit back in the day, which was pretty cool. You know, looking back on it now, I thought it was pretty cool. So yeah, I like those games. So, well, we're gonna leave it there. We've been talking for what shit over 2 hours, man. That was cool.
Damn, it's been 2 hours. Oh, great, crazy! I didn't know it was 2 hours.
Yeah. So okay. Do you want to tell everyone where they can find you? So.
No, it's cool. I mean, I would have said my Twitch, but I don't really. I mean, I stream on it, but not too much as I should be. So.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. All right. Well, I mean, like, if you guys ever join the Discord, and you see Breezy around, he's in there. He is now. I'm not going to show it, but he's got a picture. I'm looking at his picture. Right. I just got to say this again. I know we talked about this before. This dude has the most Old Testament beard I've ever seen. It's awesome. So, I'm serious, man. It's fucking great. It's just like, just Old Testament shit, right? Nobody's messing with that, right? But thanks, dude. It was awesome. I appreciate that.
Thanks, man. Thanks,
it's good. It's good too because, like, you know, obviously, like I've had a lot of back and forth with other pro folks that hasn't gone so well. And I've even had a brief conversation. I haven't done the interview yet with your friend Tekken House as well, who like trains and helps people like play Tekken. And it's very cool to be able to talk to people in the scene or very sort of professional. You know, that, you know, it's good to have that back and forth. It's good to learn. And going back to what you were saying earlier, delivery is everything. You know what I mean? Like, so you approached it with a different, like your approach, right? You know, you know, I've heard you talk many times, not just with me, but other people saying, oh, no, that's not correct or whatever. But bedside manner, I don't think a lot of people realize how important that is. There was a thing I saw the other week about debating, you know, and one of the best ways that you can get people to try and see your side and understand your side is getting them to like you, right? So if they like you, then they're going to be more open to, you know, discussing stuff and seeing your point of view. Because if you come in hostile, you know, or attacking, you know, or, you know, put down or anything like that, people automatically, you know, the natural human response is to get on the defense. So I appreciate you, brother, for, you know, for not being like that. I do. I really.
No problem, man. No problem.
So.
No problem.
All right, guys. We'll leave it there. Do you want to say anything more before we go?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right, guys. Well, we'll leave it there. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks again, of course, for BreezyKenju for joining us for this interview. It was fantastic. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on the Discord and, of course, any other videos that are coming out. So, see you later.